Minister, I welcome the introduction of this bill, which is late in the day coming before us, but which will help, I suppose, somewhat to claw back some of the profits that the energy providers have made, and the massive profits at that. I understand that the estimated proceeds from the temporary solidarity contribution are in the range of 200 million to 450 million, and that these proceeds can be used towards financial supports to households and businesses affected by high energy prices. This is welcome, as I said, but look, many small businesses have already closed. I know that for a fact in my constituency. They couldn't sustain the energy prices and the energy costs. And indeed, I, like many TDs here, was so aware of the situation. And I did raise it here on the floor of the Dáil, where I called for the energy companies to be brought in. And I did that a number of times during leaders' questions with the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach. I'm glad that there's some movement, but as I say, it is deeply frustrating to see it so late in the day when businesses are gone that should be still there, and indeed they're also customers that the energy companies could have had going into the long term, but they were so, I suppose, focused on the short term gain that greed got the better of them and they lost these customers. What is also annoying to hear is that some of this windfall may be also diverted to support investment in areas such as renewable energy. And I would like to see very clear detail and data on precisely what that means. And the bill is lacking in many respects. There's many gaps because it doesn't give detail in regard to what that means. Will it mean, for example, reducing the excessively burdensome cost of deep retrofits? Will it be used to reduce the costs or increase the grants around the installation of solar panels on farms or other businesses? What exactly will these hundreds of millions be allocated to, Minister? Will it be taken from energy suppliers only to be given back to them through circular routes to support their renewable energy efforts? People are fed up of these totally baffling levels of energy costs, even when you take into consideration the recent reductions from some of the suppliers. I think people are also angry about the fact that what we are talking about here is a very limited and short-term measure. Energy companies need to be brought in here before the Oireachtas committee. They need to explain what they're doing and what they will do to support customers, not just in the short term, but into the long term. And I would call on government to make sure that they do that, bring them in, and I think it's the fairest way. Would it be better to send a signal to these suppliers that massive price gouging will be no longer tolerated, and that if they persist, then measures such as the one that we are introducing here today will be a permanent or even an annual feature that they will have to contend with? And let us not fool ourselves here, Minister. While this measure will generate a few hundred million, the rise in excise duty will take in multiples of that, as the scrapping of the lower rate of duty on the fuels could add €10 to the cost of a tank of fuel. Indeed, before the recess, Minister McGrath confirmed to me in a parliamentary reply that the estimated additional receipts in a full year from the increases in excise duty of a total of 21 cents a litre on petrol and diesel will amount to over €700. And I'm calling here today on government to reduce excise duty. Take that burden off ordinary families and motorists. Take that burden off our haulage sector, which is doing such great work in terms of generating employment in rural counties such as my own and Laois Offaly, and also which is keeping the cogs in the wheel moving in our national economy and our supply lines. Take the burden off and cut the excise duty. This excise duty is made up, the 700 million that I mentioned is made up of 478 million over a full year, and higher VAT of 35 million for diesel, and an extra 159 million plus VAT of 35 million for petrol. So while government makes a song and a dance about a windfall tax and coming down hard on energy providers, let no one be under any illusions. This is the same government that has taken its own people to the hilt, and that is using the same tactics that it criticises in the energy companies. Take as much as you can, as fast as you can. The hypocrisy of this will not be lost on people, even if this bill is a partial step in the right direction.